Welcome to the very first episode of Fisher Football Focus. I am Jacob Rodriguez, and I'll be bringing you interviews and insights from inside the Cardinal football program all season long. To kick things off, I sat down with the new head coach of Fisher football, Ed Raby, previewing Saturday's matchup against FDU Florham. We talked about his vision for the Cardinals this season. Let's dive in. Joining me now on Fisher Football Focus is the new head coach of St. John Fisher football, Ed Raby. Coach, thanks for taking the time to sit down with us before the season kicks off.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, just to start us off, give us a bit of background for the folks at home who might not know you or where you're from.
Yeah, a little bit of background about me. I was born in North Dakota, but lived most of my life in Michigan. I was a football guy since the beginning. Played my college football at Alma College out in Michigan, very similar school to St. John Fisher. And then after that, I coached at Alfred University for my grad degree. And then I was at Allegheny College for 3 years, and then most recently SUNY Morrisville before coming here.
Mm-hmm. And what made you make the move to New York?
Well, I think the Alfred job was more just an opportunity. I wanted to get into coaching and didn't really know a lot of people. My college coach kind of recommended, apply to all these different jobs, when you're young, applying to every job that's out there. Got an opportunity to interview. At the time, head coach, Coach Rankel, who's at Alfred now, he was the offensive coordinator, interviewed me, got an opportunity there, and decided to take that opportunity and kind of get away from coaching. If I would have coached at Alma, I would have had to coach some of the guys I played with, so that makes it a little bit harder. So getting to Alfred let me kind of get my feet wet.
Mm-hmm. And how the first few weeks of practice gone for you and your group, and what kind of identity do you want this team to carry into week one?
I think we've had great weeks of practice. Honestly, our effort's been really good. The guys have bought in. In terms of identity, we talk about being relentless and tough. I'm a big believer in toughness, and football is a tough game. And in order to be successful, you got to be able to have, mental toughness, but also physical toughness, right? So relentless and tough is really the identity we want to be, regardless of what the scores of the games are. We want teams to say, hey, that's a team that's tough and relentless.
And where did you kind of analyze, or where do you see the team coming into as a first-year head coach here? Where do you think that they stand as of now in regards to that mental toughness aspect?
I think we're getting better every day. I think the one thing, obviously, I have a lot of respect for Coach Vosberg and what he built here. The reason that people talk about St. John Fisher football is because of Coach Vos and what he did here. But I think at the same time, there was a lot of energy for change, right? People were excited for a little bit of change. And so the guys have really bought in. I think there's been no issues with people buying in. They trust our coaching staff. They trust what we're doing. And each and every day, I think we've gotten a lot better.
Yeah, awesome. You were at SUNY Morrisville as a defensive coordinator for quite a while. And when you took over as the head coach there, the interim head coach, your team took a pretty drastic step forward. You guys had a few winning seasons in a row. And most notably on the defensive side, in 2022, you guys allowed just 11 points in the game. One of the top teams in the nation defensively. And the Cardinals gave up nearly 30 points per game last season, scoring about 24. And they finished just 3-7 overall. What do you bring to the program, and what are your aspirations for the season?
I bring fresh ideas. We were able to hire some different coaches, and again, I think there's two things. The football side of things, obviously I think there was things that needed to be fixed, and that new energy and some of those new ideas helped. But the kids were a great group of kids. They work hard, ready to go, ready to get better. In terms of our aspirations, we talk about the standard returning. That's our team motto this year, is the standard returns. And we talked about becoming a team that pursues greatness and everything that we do, being the best version that we can be every single week. Our aspiration is to hold that standard, which is to make the postseason in some way, shape, or form. We talk about being the first team since 2016 to either get to a bowl game or get to the playoffs, right? That's our goal. We're not going to hide from that. That's what St. John Fisher football should be. So that is our aspirations. We got to focus one day at a time now.
Yeah, and at the end of May, your captains were announced. Yep. What made you and your coaching staff decide on Ethan Curtis, Ryan Whitney, Timothy Vanderbrink, and Colin Faust?
Well, we didn't necessarily decide on it. That was our team. Our team voted for that.
Okay.
So obviously the coaching staff has a say in that too. They get a vote. But it's really the team. And what was cool about our captain process this year, I thought it was kind of an interesting thing. We have a lot of juniors on that group, right? And so I think our leadership, we had a lot of guys that got votes, but those four guys were the ones getting most of the votes, right? So I think it showed that we have more than just 4 leaders on the team. So that was a big deal. And I think the reason that those guys were able to get their teammates' respect is the way that they carry themselves. It's not just about what you say, it's about how you act. And those are some of the hardest workers on our team, and they got rewarded for it.
Yeah. What do you think this team is capable of, I guess? I know you guys have aspirations for the season. You said that the guys are buying into what you bring to the team, but what do you think this team is capable of as the roster currently stands?
I think we're capable. I don't like putting limitations on like when you talk about wins and losses. Like I don't really look at it like that. I mean, we talk to our team all the time about not putting limitations on ourselves. We're focused on FDU right now. That's the first game. And so our goal as a staff and as a team is to be the best version of ourselves this week and play clean football, execute at a high level. We believe that we have the talent that if we do that and we play to our ability, we're going to have a good chance of coming out on top, right? But, you know, obviously the focus is just being the best we can right now and not putting limitations on what we can be.
Yeah, I love that. I hear that from a lot of high-level coaches in professional sports, so that's definitely a great thing to bring to this program, especially a program that hasn't won in a long time. And as you mentioned, you guys start off against FDU in a couple days. What stands out to you about them on film, maybe from last year, and what will be the keys for this Cardinal football team to start the season strong?
Well, I think for FDU, it's kind of hard. We're very similar teams in that we're going to have a lot of new players playing. They graduated a lot of seniors. They had a very good quarterback last year, so it's hard to know what they're going to be. I think the things that we do know is they have a couple of talented returning all-conference players that are going to definitely challenge us. They are a very well-coached team. When you watch some of their games, you can tell that they're well-coached on offense, defense, and special teams. So we're going to get a team. They're the winningest program in New Jersey in college football in the last 4 years. So they're definitely a program that's going to be ready to play. We have to bring our best effort.
How important is it to get that win in week one, especially with you as a new head coach here? You know, if you guys come out week one and you look flat, you know, some guys might say, you know, I don't know if this is really working out. I mean, it seems like you have plenty of buy-in from the guys as it is, but how important is that week one win?
Well, first of all, I think kind of that mindset, we've already talked, like week one or bust doesn't really work out. That's not how things work. Obviously, we want to win. We have a game plan to win the game.
Yeah.
That's the goal. You know, that's our desire. If we don't win, that would be a failure in that week. But I don't think that our guys, I think our guys they well understand that this is a process, right?
Yeah.
If we lose week one and it becomes, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world, like we're not going to be a very good football program anyway, because the focus is we got to keep getting better every week. If we win week one, guess what? We still got to get better every week. So to me, the result of the game doesn't change our process.
Yeah.
Right. Our process has to be we're always getting better, no matter what. And I think the culture will be there. I don't think it's going to be like win or bust type of mindset, because you can't really play like that. To me, the guys that, if they are like that, we're not going to roll with those guys, right? Our culture is going to be important in terms of that. But I don't see that happening. Our focus is getting better every week, regardless of what the score is, right? That's how it's going to be here, as long as I'm the head coach.
Yeah, and obviously it's been a short time with the guys so far, but who's a player that's really stood out to you in the ramp-up of the season, or a couple guys, and you're expecting to have a big season this year?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of guys that, I mean, some guys might, you know, some people might know. I think Ryan Whitney has had a great camp as our quarterback. You can tell that he played, you know, 10 games as a starter last year and got that experience, and now he feels a lot more comfortable back there. He's also a tremendous leader. He knows the whole offense, so I expect big things out of him. And then another guy, I would say on defense, if I were to name a guy that's really kind of the guy, the gel, is Tim Vanderbrink. Again, another guy that's played a lot of football already. You can kind of see the game slowing down for him. He's got a lot of leadership qualities. So those are two guys that I expect to be not only key leaders, I expect them to have big seasons, both offensively and defensively.
And as you know, I mean, the Bills have proudly called St. John Fisher University their home for training camp for some time now. So answer carefully, but who is your NFL team?
My NFL team, I'm not going to lie, I'm a Chicago Bears fan, but my wife is from Buffalo, and she is a big Bills fan. The Bears have no chance of winning the Super Bowl this year. I'm pretty confident in that. So I root for the Bills because my wife is a huge fan, and obviously everyone knows the history there. Would love to see the Bills win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, who are you picking to win the Super Bowl? Are you picking the Bills, or do you see another team out there that's looking better?
If I had to make a pick, I would go with the Bills versus the Lions, with the Bills taking it home.
All right. Well, Coach Raby, we really appreciate your time and insight today. Best of luck this Saturday against FDU Florham and all season long. Thanks again for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
It was great to hear from the new coach of St. John Fisher football, Ed Raby. He seems to be very intelligent, inquisitive, and intentional in his coaching style, and it's no question that he's got the respect of the guys in this program heading into week 1. Fisher is coming off of a 3-7 season, and as Coach Raby mentioned, this football program has not had a winning season since 2016. He and his staff certainly have belief in the guys in that room as they look to make their first bowl or playoff appearance since that time. Having the right guy, of course, is paramount to turning a program around, and Coach Raby has belief in Ryan Whitney. Whitney started all 10 games last season in his first year as a starter, and he tallied nearly 2,000 yards in the air and rushed for 300. He combined for 14 total touchdowns. Expect him to be a huge part of turning things around here at St. John Fisher. It's certainly going to be interesting to see how the Cardinal defense performs under head coach Ed Raby, as he's coming from a very strong defensive program at SUNY Morrisville. Looking ahead to Saturday at FDU Florham, the Devils just graduated their star quarterback Ryan Thomas, who was excellent for them in 2024, totaling over 3,000 yards on the air and ground, accounting for 33 total touchdowns. This means some turnover at the quarterback position for the Devils, but this is an offense who averaged nearly 33 points per game in 2024. Kickoff is scheduled for 11 a.m. in Madison, New Jersey. And I thank you all for tuning in to the first episode of Fisher Football Focus. A big thanks again to head coach Ed Raby. Once again, I am Jacob Rodriguez, reporting for Cardinal Television. Go Cardinals!